So years ago, I talked about how there was a social studies teacher I had back in elementary school. He just ruined something as fun as history, social studies. He ruined it by just always making us write essays and do long, extended projects. Eventually, he went to Singapore and haven't heard from him since. I talked about how the last big assignment he gave the class, the entire class, my class, we all decided just not to do that assignment. When I was cleaning, I found the actual assignment. Full circle, man. I have to show you guys what this assignment was. Pioneers of the Westward Expansion, I think, or Frontier. Pioneers of the Westward Frontier. Remember back in the day, if you guys were a millennial, they would have these projector screens. You would basically have to have a little white special, it's not a board, it's like a roll down type of surface, or else you couldn't see the screen well, the projection well. Well, this guy, this teacher, we didn't have one, so he would project it onto the whiteboard and you could never really see. It was really bad for your eyes, man. It's just really bad for your attention span too. You know, those projector screens gave me headaches all the time. I'm sure some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. So I guess we took these notes from his projector screen that was not properly set up. So students will create a parade of pioneers with life-size paper figures. Students will research the life of a person. I spelled research wrong, by the way. Look at this, I spelled research wrong. Students will research the life of a person and produce a biographical sketch or a journal entry emphasizing his or her part in the westward movement. So first thing you have to do is you have to research. That's what his name was, Mr. Mernon. Mr. Mernon said you have to research. Look at that, internet was even put first. Encyclopedia, library, textbook. 2, write a one-page front and back biography or journal. So either write a biography of the person, pretend to write journal entries from he was really into that. So another assignment he gave us, and I talked about this in my previous talk on this, we had to pretend to be an explorer of America. And that always kind of rubbed me off the wrong way, being an immigrant, right? Because I knew those explorers of America were not really explorers, right? They were basically invaders. But back then, the way history was taught, you know, Christopher Columbus discovered America, but he really didn't. That assignment, we also had to write journal entries. So he really was into kind of trying to get us students to step into the world of someone from centuries before. And on top of writing the one-page biography or journal entry, front and back, you had to create a life-size paper figure. Assuming since we were much shorter then, life-size isn't our height, a student's height. I don't know how tall I was, but designing an adult size, I mean, it could have been possible. Anyways, he assigned me Mark Twain. And when I found out I had Mark Twain, I literally cheered because I had heard so much good stuff about Mark Twain. And when I was young, when I was still living in Chicago, I actually watched this really bad movie adaptation of The Adventures of Tom Sawyer. So I obviously had known about Mark Twain. And, you know, Mark Twain's very popular in China too. So I was so happy. And he was surprised because I wasn't a very good student in elementary school. And he's like, wow, someone's excited. That's awesome. That's not what he said, right? He had a really interesting accent. I think it was a southern accent. He said something in his own southern way. This was already the last 2 months of the year of 5th grade, and we were graduating, and he was also going to Singapore. I thought I was the only one, but as I started talking to more and more of our classmates, it turns out all of us didn't look forward to social studies. It was so sad. All of us didn't look forward to social studies. And it turns out everyone had the same complaint, which is that he's basically just lecturing us. He never makes it fun. We're always writing essays about random things. You're always having to fulfill these arbitrary requirements, right? And I didn't realize until my teacher, her name was Miss Race, and she was like, oh, guys, time to go to social studies. And the entire class was like, oh. And I was like, what? Nobody likes that class either? And then Miss Race was so surprised because she thought everyone liked Mr. Mernon. So she's like, wait, you guys don't like social studies. And then the entire class just started complaining. And then half the complaints were like, yeah, we're always writing essays. And then Jerry's early comedy skills or something. Mr. Vernon liked to keep a little bit of facial hair here. I don't know if he purposely was trying to keep like a beard or something, but it's really awkward. So I took a piece of paper like this and I pretended I had a beard and I did an impression of him in front of the whole class, and the whole class laughed. Even the teacher laughed because they knew. He liked to call us boys and girls. I guess I can fold this paper, it's okay. I was like, boys and girls, you will read this 20-page textbook and then write an essay. I mean, that's just how he sounded. Before the 2000s, schools were more fun. You can sort of blame the Bush administration, but it was a lot more than that. I think it was just the general decline of American society. They started emphasizing test taking too much. So everything was about grades and test scores and everything, and learning and skill, and also play. Play, very important for boys. All of that kind of just went out the window past the 2000s. A month into the assignment, I think I went once to the public library to check out some books on Mark Twain, but I just didn't want to do anything. I just kind of stalled. There was probably 1 or 2 classes where Mr. Mernon set the class up for us to kind of do more work on the assignment. And I remember very few kids were even doing anything. And so eventually, after procrastinating, it was like maybe 2 weeks before the end of the year, my table of students, the way in elementary school you had a table of people, like you didn't sit kind of all facing the teacher. I asked my table of classmates / friends, I said, have you guys done this assignment? And they're like, no, and don't worry about it. No, and don't worry about it. And then I started talking to more of my friends. I said, have you guys done that assignment? They're like, no. Are you guys going to do it? They're like, nope. So collectively, what I realized was the entire class just sort of went on strike. We're like, we're not going to do any more of these. I was going to use the word stupid, but honestly, it would have been fun if Mr. Mernon gave us more guidance. Why do we have to cut life-size paper figures? This isn't an art class. Maybe give us the life-size figure and have us add something to it, right? You gotta take out the arbitrary stuff that stresses out someone that's only 10. Give us the life figures and then add 1 or 2 things that the person might have carried, right? That would have been much more context-driven, and it wouldn't have stressed us out about, we're trying to do a history project, but we also have to worry about art. I like to remember these things because you realize how, even at a very young age, certain behaviors start emerging. For lack of a better word, we unionized without even realizing. We all said, look, we're not going to do this, so you can fail us all or not. That's what happens in life, right? A lot of times organizations or people, when they're pushed a little too far, they become a clan, so to speak, and they fight back. And so you might ask, what happened? We don't know, because Mr. Mernon kind of went to Singapore, and then I don't even think I've been trying to find my 5th grade report card. It's not good. I didn't do a good job in school, and that's fine. There's no reason to care too much about grades, but in 5th grade, I wasn't a good student. And so who knows if it affected all our grades or not. We didn't care because we all graduated. So, I mean, is there really a way to be held? I guess there is a way to be held back even in elementary school, but I think it's hard, right? You had to really be trying to be held back if you wanted to be held back in elementary school. So yeah, we all somehow passed the course, even though we didn't do the final big project, because we all said, we're not going to do it. What are you going to do? Punish us all? For those of you watching, have you had any of these stories? Have you had any of these memories? Was there a time, whether in your workplace or in your education or any other type of situation, where a group of you, whether consciously or unconsciously, all went on strike? Let me know in the comments. Okay, guys.